All right, it says we're live. Now let me get my chat up here. Where is it? There it is. Nobody in the room. Nobody in the room yet. So we're live. Live from I should say welcome. Live from the crossroads of America. This is a 1-hour talk show, shooting with disabilities. If we run out of topics, we go to guns, politics, or anything else that crosses our mind. Answer questions from the audience, either in the chat or by email. It might be only us four right now because there ain't nobody in the chat whatsoever. So we are broadcasting on gun channels and YouTube. The audio file will be on this broadcast to be up in 24 hours, but every other show I've ever done is on Podbean, Stitcher, and iTunes. And yeah, that's about it. I got a Patreon page and all that. Oh, we got some people in the chat room. We got 2 Live Moo, Yonda, Texas. Sabrina's here. How y'all doing? Introduce my panel real quick. I got Blind Shooter from New York.
Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Then I got Squib Load from good old Michigan.
Hey.
Then I got Kingpin from Maryland.
Hey now.
Yeah. Now, actually, real quick, when I growing up in England, I always knew how to pronounce it. But English people would call it Maryland.
Well, technically, that's the name. Because originally, when it was founded, it was Maryland because it's named after Queen Mary or Princess Mary or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
most people will call it Maryland.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Or you could call it Maryland. Depends on what part of Maryland you live in, but then you would call it Maryland.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what? Anybody seen Patriot lately?
Nope.
I haven't seen him in one of my chats for a couple of weeks now. So I think he was in last Wednesday's chat, and that's the last I've seen him. So okay. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. I was going to say the cold weather's got here now. You know, even down here in sunny southern Indiana. I mean, actually, I say it's got cold here. It's down in the low 40s, you know, and that's cold enough for me. And I can tell it's affecting me. My all my joints are aching. And as I said before we came live, we got rain scheduled for the next 2 days. And it's not a no wives' tale. When it's going to rain, I can tell because I hurt even more. And I was actually talking to a doctor, and he said it's not. He said it is true. He said it's to do with the atmospheric pressure, and that's what affects your joints. So I'm sticking with that story. But where I'm going with this, being shooting with disabilities, it's damn hard when you're so stiff and hurting. Like I went shooting. When was it? What's today? Wednesday. I went shooting. Was it yesterday? I went. Or the day before. Can't remember what day I went now. It was Tuesday, I think. Yeah, I went yesterday. And, I got myself all set up there and, I was shooting. I mean, luckily that 380 doesn't hurt my hands to shoot it. I know if I was using my 45, my hands would have been hurting at the end of the day. But I tell you what is hurting is my shoulder. My right shoulder. I've been reloading all day and pulling the handle down. Oh God, it hurts. Like now that I stopped, the arthritis in my right shoulder is aggravated. I hurt like hell. That's part of getting old and having arthritis in all your joints, like I have. Yeah, and I done my gangster video for unknown user, and I got some flack from a listener. I was quite upset about that, really. You know, but yeah, I done it as fun. So and plus when I went shooting, I was only using my 380 because I said it's still new, and I was trying out some new ammunition with it. So that's all I was playing with. So, I even had, I don't know if I would call it a squib load. Because I was using a reload. I had reloaded a few to use. And I don't know what I did. I either took it off the press before I had finished or something around. Anyway, where I'm going is the bullet had come unseated. And so the bullet got stuck. Somehow, unless it did fire, and I didn't hear it because the bullet was barely stuck in the end of the barrel. And there was gunpowder all over the inside of my gun. I had to take it all apart and go get my copper rod. And I just barely touched it and it dropped right out. You know, it wasn't really stuck in there, but it was stuck enough that I couldn't shake it out. So I had to pop it out with a brass rod. But that was the only really problem I had. That was on my reloads. But when I was using Winchester white box, it ran flawlessly. Plus, I had made some lead defense ammo, and that ran flawlessly too. That's going to be my new defense ammo. I got it. It's in the gun right now. So, anyway, that was that. So, anyway, we don't really have a lot to discuss on disabilities unless any of you have out there in the panel or in the chat. Who, you know. Oh, Sabrina said he just got mail with Patriot, and his focus at the moment is with his daughter. Hey, family always comes first. That's what I say. You know? So that's okay. That's not a problem. All right. You guys got anything you want to talk about in the panel here? We can go on to politics, guns, anything you like. Talk to me. Blind shooter, you got anything?
Not a damn thing, Rick. Sorry.
What were you saying? What were you saying about the New Jersey court case?
Oh, the Magban situation. I believe it was earlier this year. Governor Murphy, aka Free Stuff, knocked him down from standard capacity, which would have been 15 to 17 rounds, down to the 10-round limit. So ever since then, the gun rights organizations such as NRA, CNJFO, ANJRPC have been pushing lawsuits through the court system, and as of Monday, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals said that nope, New Jersey's testimony wasn't good enough. They want the case to go forward.
Well, that's a good sign. That's
a good sign, and
so
it's a good sign. And from what I heard, like I'm not too up to date on the judges that are there, but apparently it's a majority in our favor of conservative judges.
Okay, there's a question in the chat here for you, blind shooter.
I didn't do it.
It says it's from Patrick Henry. So is blind shooter really blind or just need glasses?
Blind shooter is actually blind.
Yeah, you can see sort of like a shadow or something, right? You know what he told me? Or vague, you can see very vaguely.
Right. Picture if you're driving through a bad snowstorm and you get that whiteout condition.
Yeah.
That's what I see looking central vision. Peripheral vision is still good.
Okay. All right. So there's your answer. That's why we call him the blind shooter. So there we go. Patrick Henry. That sounds like a name. That sounds like a name that our buddy Patriot in the Dark would use. You know, he's got so many accounts. I'm not sure. Oh, Sabrina says, I guess that blind or legally blind hasn't anything to do with glasses, because if glasses could solve the problem, you know, it would do it. So you're right. I mean, I take my eyes are bad. I'm not, but I can see. You know what I'm saying? If if in a shit hits the fan scenario, my glass is broke, I wouldn't be able to drive because I can't see that, because everything's sort of fuzzy. But I could survive, if you know what I mean. So I'm thankful for that.
I don't know. I mean, I've always said that blind people make better drivers because look at how many car crashes you sighted people get into. You've never heard a blind person get into a car crash.
Yeah. Somebody's asking when you go to the range, you fit your guns in a taxi. I imagine you go with friends or something.
Yeah. Friends or just take public transportation. You can bring your guns on public transportation as long as they're unloaded.
Wow. Yeah, I know New York's tough, but quite surprised they allow you to do that. I'm quite surprised the public isn't scared shitless.
Well, that's actually one of the things I get a kick out of. Like the law here is you have to keep it unloaded, separate from ammunition. And when I take the 22 rifle out, sometimes I keep it in the bag that Ruger gives you when you buy it.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed like how many people just don't know what it is. And here I am walking down streets of New York. I got a rifle in the bag, magazines, a couple hundred rounds of ammunition. No one the fucking knows.
Yeah, it's strange. It's only when they actually see the thing, if they see it, they freak out. South Pole RX, you're just saying hi, so I'm just saying hi back. Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, like, a friend of mine, he's not really into firearms, but he has like no issue with people having them and owning them. So I passed by one day when he was at work, and he's like, "Oh, what do you got in the bag?" So just joking around, I'm like, "Here, hold this for me while I go get a snack from around the corner." He's like, "What is it?" I'm like, "Go ahead and open it." He opened up, he sees the rifle in the bag, had a freaking heart attack.
I bet you would. New York Outcast has joined us. How you doing? Jason Stewart has joined us. He said he's driving home, so he's listening. So I appreciate it all. Appreciate you all being here. I really do. So you got anything? My tongue's got stuck. You got anything, Squib? You want to talk? What were we talking about before I went live?
We were talking about how jacked up Virginia or Maryland or one of them states over there is.
Let's talk about that then. Or do we want Kingpin to start it off?
I don't live over there, so the stuff I get is like hearsay, and I mean from some of you guys, I trust what you're saying because you live there or you live around there, it affects you, but this whole, Virginia is going to lose all their gun rights next year, blah, 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 blah. The only thing it really does on this end is it sets a precedent for other states that want to copy that. Oh, see, Virginia's doing it, we're going to do it. Otherwise, just like other places, there's not a damn thing I can do about it.
Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, I don't know if Kingpin wants to jump in on this. In the news today, or not the news today, I'm not sure it was on the news or I read it somewhere, that Virginia's now got 3 or 4 counties that said they've gone to a sanctuary. Well, as Kingpin said, where in the hell were they when the election was going on? Why didn't they vote?
So what we were talking about before you went live, this is what happened. Right before the show, we got it going, and it's 7 o'clock, we got to go now. It's like, no, man. Just hit the button and don't tell us.
My name's not Night Strike.
You would have solid gold on the show if you just hit the button and didn't tell us, and we just kept going. I'm telling you. So we lose our train of thought, but what we were talking about was the fact that you've got people that don't show up to vote. Maybe they say that they don't want to lose their liberty. Maybe they say that they're pro-Second Amendment. But when it comes time to vote, they don't show up. They get that whole, my vote doesn't count, or they've got the same excuses they use for everything else. Oh, I didn't feel like it today, or I don't want to fight the traffic, or they moved the precinct, or I was tired, or I had to work that day. It's all excuses. It's all excuses. It's not that hard. Even if they move your precinct, it's not like they're going to move it 20 miles away. It's not that hard to figure out where it is. And sometimes there's a line, and sometimes there's this, sometimes there's that. Do your civic duty. Do your civic duty. You have a right to complain if you don't vote. You do. But it's a really uneducated, unexperienced complaint that you're making because you weren't trying to be a part of the solution. So I don't know any other way other than to, I guess, complain myself or to belittle other people. Get your ass out there and vote in everything. Primaries, everything. There's some people, they only vote, they don't vote in primaries at all, and then they only vote in the general election, or they only vote for the president when there's a president every 4 years. You've got to make the effort. It's really not that hard to do. The excuses are just that. They're excuses. They're not explanations. They're honest to goodness excuses. Unless you've got to travel for an emergency on election day, then there's no excuse. You can do an absentee ballot if you're going to be on vacation or have business and you know about it far enough in advance. There's just nothing but, even if you're deployed overseas, you can vote. So there's no excuse.
I agree with you. Before we bring Kingpin on this, there was a question. I got a couple of questions, actually. So keep that train of thought because we might go off a little bit here. Patrick Henry says, so what are everyone's disabilities on the panel? Well, as we know, blind shooter is sight impairment.
And a gun owner living in New York. That should be a disability.
Yes. And I believe Squidlow, he's not doing bad, but arthritis is starting to set in his little joint somewhere. Am I right there, Squib? As you're getting older?
My biggest disability is putting up with you guys.
Yeah.
If you guys can tell by the fact that I talk loud, I don't have an official medical hearing impairment, but I've always had trouble hearing my whole life. I've been able to pass tests, but I talk loud because hearing is an issue. And yes, arthritis is creeping up on me, and everything that you and Tony York told me about arthritis is happening. So, and I have to say that for somebody who is new to shooting and the arthritis runs in their family, don't be surprised if at some point in your life being at the range all day starts to hurt.
Yeah. And I believe Kingpin is our only 100% fit guy on the panel.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so he's there to,
He's got that allergy.
Stuff and
he's got that allergy.
And mine's multiple. I've got arthritis really bad in all my joints. I've had to have a new left hip put in because the arthritis has ruined my left hip. I actually am going to the orthopedic surgeon tomorrow because it looks like I might have to have a new right hip because of the arthritis. I hope I don't have to have any operations on my shoulders or anything. I have spinal stenosis, severe. That's what the doctor called it, severe spinal stenosis in my back. And what they want to do is from L1 to L5, I think that's what he said, they want to take 2 slices out of each side of my spine to help relieve the pressure. So to me, that sounds frightening. It really does. That sounds more frightening than to having a new metal or plastic hip put in, believe it or not, to me. So I don't know. I'm just I've heard so many horror stories, but then again, about back. I've heard horror stories. Once they cut your back, it's over. It's never right again. So I don't know.
My dad's had 2 back surgeries, and my brother-in-law's had 2 back surgeries, and my brother's had a back surgery, and I could go, probably everybody else that could go on for 10 more people that they know. I would agree that there's absolutely, unless you're crushed up in a car and they have to operate on you because you're, in a bad accident, don't ever get your back surgery done. But medical advances now are light years times 100 further ahead than when my dad got butchered. They basically just took a chainsaw to my dad's back. It almost killed him on the operating table, and he's been worse every time they touch him. He gets worse. But the technology is definitely there. I'm not recommending it, but I would say look into it because the technology is much better, and
Yeah, I mean, if they
they're
could do
much
it
better at it.
microscopically, that would be better, wouldn't it? You know. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's medical advances, but it's still scary. Oh, and the last thing that's wrong with me that I can recall is how this all started. Was I had a work injury, and I was on workers' comp for a year, for just over a year. I'm left-handed, and I used to shoot left-handed. I can't hold a gun in my left. I can hold a gun like that 380 I've got. I can hold it in there, but that even hurts to shoot it with the recoil because I've only got about 25. I lost about 25% use of my left hand, so I had to learn to shoot right-handed and everything else. And it's I don't want to put it bluntly. I hope people aren't eating, but I said I'm totally left-handed. I I throw a ball left-handed. I bat left-handed. I golf left-handed. I do everything left-handed, and I had to learn to put it basically wipe my backside with my right hand. Because when I ruined my hand, I had it had pins and stuff going through it for about 8 weeks. I couldn't do anything with it. And when you live left-handed, it was a hard job learning to do everything with your right hand. So I just, so I hope you guys weren't eating when I mentioned that, but that's what I've been through. If anybody's interested. Next question is back to guns, and that came from Georgia Trucker. He's driving along, but he pulled over to write this question, so I want to get to it. What would be a good? This might be up your street, Squib. Maybe yours too, Kingpin. What would be a good hunting caliber for deer with lower recoil? I have a shoulder that gives me issues most of the time. So, what do you think, Squib?
I would recommend getting Henry Big Boy in 44 Magnum, but loading it with 44 Specials. As long as you're 100 yards or less, I can tell you I killed a deer with a 44 Special last year. Now it was loaded to plus P plus rating, but even with that, the recoil on it was less than one of my hot 44 Magnums. If I'm at the range all day and I'm shooting really hot loads out of the 44 Magnum out with that rifle, I get a sore shoulder, but not like killer sore. Just I notice it I notice it the next morning. When I'm shooting specials all day at the range, whether they be standard or even really hot specials like Elmer Keith style ones, I don't really get as much of a sore shoulder. So that's my personal recommendation. You may have different hunting conditions. I don't know what your state laws are. Like here where I'm at in Lower Michigan, I have to use a straight wall cartridge like 44 Magnum or 44 Special. If you're talking about hunting with a bottleneck cartridge or something like that, because maybe you're shooting longer range, then I'd use an AR-15 and 223 or 300 blackout. At 300 blackout, whether you're going subsonic or supersonic, in a carbine length, there's no recoil. It's not even that loud. It's really manageable. And if you've got to have a 30 caliber diameter bullet, or you want that heavier bullet, 300 blackout will do the job too. So I really can't answer the question much better than that based on my personal experience hunting and my lack of knowledge about the hunting laws where you're hunting at.
New York Owls said in your deer hunting, was that the one you put 7 rounds in?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I hit it twice with a 44 Special plus P plus with a jacketed soft point, and it still ran away. So I put some. What were those? I put Inceptors, and crap, what was the other one I put in it? Something else. But I ended up putting a few more holes in it with some 45 AARP.
Yeah. Oh, Jason Stewart says use a 30-30 for deer. Use a buttstock pad. You know? So.
Okay, with that, if you don't want to, if you're having trouble finding one that fits, or you don't want to have it permanently attached, or you might need longer screws or something like that, a company called Limb Saver, they sell them that attach to the buttstock where you can screw them in place of the plastic or metal pad, but they also have a slip-on, and I think it comes in different sizes. I actually took the stock off my Mosin, went into the sporting goods store with the stock, and matched it up to a slip-on Limb Saver pad in the store, and that really knocks down the recoil on my Mosin. So that's something else I've got a little bit of experience with that I would recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, with Limb Saver also, if you go on the website, you can print out the diagram and match up your stock to the proper size you need.
See, I didn't even know that, so I took the stock in. Here I am walking into the sporting goods store with a gun stock, and nobody even looked. They didn't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah, Two Live Moose said his niece started out with a 243 rifle for deer hunting. So you got done any hunting, Kingpin?
No, I haven't shot an animal since I was a little kid, and I shot a bird with a BB and cried like a little girl, so I stopped doing that. But my boss swears by the 243, but he's kind of a big dude, and he's not really worried about the recoil. I, with my absolute zero experience, would probably agree with Squib and say the 223 round, 5.56 round, if you're allowed to hunt with a caliber like that, because it'll knock a deer down and there's hardly any recoil, and you probably can't go wrong with a 300 blackout either.
Okay. Just real quick, I wanted to answer a couple of questions in here, or read a couple of things that back to when they were asking what our disabilities were. Yoda, Texas says, my doc said that if I left my spinal stenosis go unchecked, that I could lose the ability to control my bodily functions. I had surgery to remove built-up calcium inside 2 vertebrae. Well, that don't sound good, to lose the ability to... let me get my right hip done, then I'll look into the back surgery. Maybe it's got better. Maybe they can do microsurgery where they don't cut me so bad. I don't know. Then Two Live Moose said he had L4 and L5 surgery in 2005. Best thing he ever had done. So, and Sabrina said, I am right-handed, but carpal tunnel syndrome is screwing everything. Almost half a year I had my surgery, but it can give lifelong issues, but chronic issues I am used to. Yeah, I know what you mean. And Patrick Henry, another question. And what's his question? Do you ever feel discriminated because of your disability and shooting? Blind shooter. You want to answer that?
Back when I first got into shooting, yes. I went to one range, and I don't know if the guy just didn't like me or had an issue with people shooting and having disability, but pretty much said that if you can't hit the target, don't come back here until you're able to do so. And haven't been back since. I'm not going to give you my business if you're going to be a dick.
That is being a dick. He really is. Now, I've had nothing but good experience. The ranges I went to. As I progressively got worse, the indoor range I used to go to was they would give me a chair to sit on, if I didn't have to stand all the time, which I thought was nice of them. Then when I joined the outdoor range, this is when I was living in Rhode Island, they even let me. They had 5 pistol. I think it was 5 pistol ranges, and so I would choose one that nobody was at. They would even let me drive my pickup truck right up to wherever I wanted to go, So I could drive it within 15 feet of the target if I wanted to. But I normally went to 25 yards away from the target, and I used to sit on the back of my tailgate and shoot. Then of course I got my scooter, and so I used to use that to whip around the range. So I've had nothing but no problems where I've been, And right now here in Indiana, I haven't been to an official for a range. Where I go, my range I use now is the Conservation Club, and it has a big giant lake on it, and it has the little shooting range that has the berms and stuff that I shoot at, and it's only used 4 times a year for they do turkey shoots with shotguns, and if you're really good, first prize is a whole cow. The second prize is a half a cow. Then third prize is a quarter of beef. That it goes down like that. And but they only use it 4 times a year. They do one early spring, one during the summer, one at the end of summer, and one in the fall, and that's it. That's the only time it's used. So when I go down there, I've never seen. The only time I've seen somebody where they were somebody was on a boat out in the lake fishing. I've never ever seen another person on the range when I've been there. So, and of course, that cost me $22 a year to be a member there. I can afford that. So
Now, when you say they give you a whole cow, is the cow dead or alive when they give it to you?
it's dead.
Yeah.
At the butcher, it's at the butcher shop. Yeah. So, Two Live Moose said, I'm married with 2 kids. That's my disability. I know what you mean. I was married too. I know what you mean. So, Honda had knee surgery in 2006. Yeah, originally I thought it was when I first went to see the surgeon because my knee was killing me. And he took x-rays. He actually he sent me for an MRI. They practically done my whole lower half of my body. And when I went to see him, he goes, it's not your knee, it's your hip. And what you're doing is the way you're walking, you're putting all the pressure on your knee, and that's why your knee's hurting. But it's your hip that's all screwed up. He said, does your hip hurt? I said, it hurts permanently. I said, it's full of arthritis. He goes, yeah. He said, that's your problem. It's destroyed your hip. Where that ball joint goes into the cup. The cup was practically, he said, your cup, from what we can see on the x-rays, it's not looking good. After the surgery, he said, by the way, I was correct. He said, that cup was almost destroyed. He said, that's why it was so bad. Where I'm going with this, my right knee is killing me. So that's why I think I'm going to have to have a new right hip. So there we go. What you call it? What else we got in here? I think Patrick Henry. I'm sure Patrick Henry. I'm sure that's Patriot in the Dark. Some of these questions he's coming up with, the kind of stuff he does, and he uses Patrick Henry a lot on gun channels. Patrick Henry, here's a question for everybody. What is your favorite everyday carry besides a firearm?
Money.
Yeah, that's a good one. Blind shooter. What about you?
It's a 3-way tie between a flashlight, my knife, and my lighter.
What about you, Squib?
Leatherman Wave. I got it in my hand right now. I'm using it to fix some electrical.
Okay.
I knew you were going to say that.
The thing is great. I couldn't live without a multi-tool.
When you showed it in one of your latest videos, I was like, he's been dying to get that in a video.
I've got it in a bunch of videos, and pretty much every single time it's got a dull blade too. I really need to sharpen it.
Yeah. Mine is, I guess my everyday carry besides my firearm would be, actually it's 2. It's my flashlight and my knife. You know, I carry them everywhere. You know, I mean, like when I go into the doctor's, I normally don't carry my gun with me. I normally lock it in my safe under my seat in my truck for the simple reason, in case I got to drop my pants and the doctor, grabs my balls and says cough. I don't want the thing clinking on the floor. So I always put that in. But my knife and flashlight always go in with me. They go everywhere. So.
Yeah, maybe the doctor wouldn't grab you by the balls if you did bring your gun in. You'd be too scared to do so.
Yeah. And so where else we got? Let me get here. See if we got anything else in the chat here. Where we got? I'm reading the chat. Sorry, guys. Oh, he wants Patrick Henry again. What does everyone have in their pocket right now? Well, actually, I don't have anything in my pocket right now because I got this shirt on, my old shirt, and I got a pair of baggy shorts on. That's it. I'm relaxed for the
Porky Bacon.
So, but actually it's not in my pocket. I don't know what I've done with it. I normally carry my little 22 Magnum North American Arms in my pocket, walking around the house. But I don't know what I did with it. So I got to find it after the show. I must have put it down somewhere and forgot to pick it back up. So there we go. So anyway, what else we got?
I have a gun question. If you guys want to get into some more, and this is, I don't know if you're available to talk, Squibby, but in your last revolver video where you were shooting at the washing machine, you kept saying that your caps were falling out. Is that because you kind of like just rushed out there, or is it because
I used the wrong size? Used the wrong size.
Okay.
Yeah, I put number 11s on there, and it takes number 10s, and there's a slight difference in them.
So what do you put, like, is that where you put like the dope or whatever that's called, and then you stick the fire and pin to, because the cylinder is already loaded with the round, right? And then you just put the percussion cap on to get it to go off, right? Kind of like a muzzle loader.
On the back end of each chamber of the cylinder, there's a nipple. The traditional 19th century term for it was a cone, so it is an interchangeable term. It's a screw-in piece that's just got a hole in it to allow the explosion from the primer, the spark from the primer, to enter the backside of the chamber where the powder is and ignite the powder. So you more or less just press them on with your thumb. If you can't get in there with your thumb, you can kind of set it on there, and I take the blade of my Leatherman Wave and just push it on there. You can take a screwdriver. There's also these tools called cappers, and they come in different shapes, and you can preload them with the caps, and then you could just jam them into the backside of the cylinder where the nipple is. Now, on most percussion revolvers, there's a slot cut out where you can pop the nipple on. You can't necessarily put it on all the way around. So you've got to put it on half cock and rotate it, put it on, rotate it, put it on, rotate. And as you do that, if they're a little bit loose, or the cones aren't quite right, or you put the wrong ones on like I did, they'll fall right off. And what will happen is they'll jam between the frame and the backside of the cylinder and jam the whole mechanism. Now, sometimes you can just pull back with your thumb to full cock and rip that. It's just copper is all the material. It's made of copper, and the inside's impregnated with the little primer material, which is like a matchstick, whatever that stuff is, right? So sometimes you can force it and just rip that copper off and spin the cylinder to the next chamber. And other times it's just jammed in there, and you may have to take it apart or try to get in there with your pocket knife or something like that. In the video, I didn't show me using a capper to load it, but I do have one style of capper. I'm looking into getting another one. You can preload the cylinders as well. You could buy extra cylinders and actually load them up at home and put the caps on there and have them ready to go, but they're very expensive. It's a lot more expensive than magazines. You might pay $50 or more for a spare cylinder. If you have the wrong size or they're just not fitting right, you can take some really small needle nose pliers, like jeweler style needle nose plier, and you can grab it and crimp it a little bit and then push it on and it'll stay right on. So there's all kinds of little tricks to keeping them on. But what I've heard, I've never actually verified this. I haven't found any documentation myself, but I've heard from other people is that back in the day, they didn't have that issue with them. They actually made the cones fit the caps, whereas these are reproductions, so the measurements are slightly off. And I don't know if that's entirely correct or not, but maybe one day I'll read it and verify it.
So when you fire and then you cock the hammer and it rotates the cylinder, the spent primer, I guess we'll call it, or whatever, the cap, does that stay on the cylinder or does that fall off as the cylinder rotates as you fire?
Yes, both. I've had them stay on there. I've had them bust wide open, like just splits the sides and they fall right off. And once again, you could run into a situation where it falls right down in there and jams between the frame and the cylinder once again. So you could get either or. Typically they come off, but sometimes they will stay intact. And it's just something that you point the muzzle up when you go to refill it. When you go to reload it, you put the powder, you put the wad, you put the ball in there, you put the grease on top. So usually just pointing it up will be enough for the cap to fall off if it is still stuck on there. But if it's really stuck on, once again, pull out the old pocket knife or the multi-tool and just take it off. But for the most part, they're designed to break apart and fall off.
All right. Does that answer your question there, Kingpin?
Absolutely, definitely.
Maybe I should do a video where I shoot, and I'm not really talking so much about the gun, but show up close what the caps look like, the percussion caps look like after, and you can see a cap jam, and you can see, one come off the cone, and maybe one stay on, or something like that. Maybe I should do something like that.
Well, you could also, show how you load the cylinder. Like, go right from the very beginning. I just took my gun out of the case, and then all the way up to bang, I just pulled the trigger. Now I'm back home taking my gun apart.
Okay, if you go
that's
to
a lot of filming and editing. But.
It is. I actually have that. I've got basic loading and firing of a Walker revolver, and I don't know if I took down my downside of owning a Lamat video yet or not, but eventually I want to take that down because that is my worst video ever. But you can see me having trouble loading this stuff. I'm at the range, and at my range, the shooting stations are really tight. There really isn't a lot of room to move around. It's hard to keep that muzzle pointed down range and actually access this to load it. And I've flagged some people with a, it had powder and bullet in it, but had no cap, so it can't go off. But it still doesn't matter. You're not supposed to flag somebody, but the way, you're wedged in there tight. It's like going through a turnstile. It's that tight, right? And I think it's so that they have more shooting stations. And for black powder, my range really is not set up for that. So you in both of those videos, you might see I'm kind of struggling, and yeah, they are kind of long, but you can see that a little bit better. But eventually I want to take down my Lamat video, and then I want to do like a multi-part where I go through the gun a little bit better, and I try to correct some of the problems with the gun. And maybe if I reshoot all that, maybe I'll get a better, more up close, and you can see what these things look like afterward. If anybody wants to get into black powder revolvers because, the revolver itself is cheap, or you don't have to fill out a 4473 or any of that garbage, that's all good and fine. But understand this, these are reproductions of 19th century technology. This is not something you are going to rapid fire and be Mr. Tactical at the range. If you don't appreciate history, you're probably not going to like it.
There you go. Actually, I'm thinking about getting into black powder guns myself. Just for the fun of it. But you were shooting high. Was that the gun, or was that you in that video?
That was me. I tend to shoot all three revolvers a little bit high. I shoot them one-handed. I don't shoot it two-handed. I just You know, that's a traditional kind of way that they did it back in the day, and I actually prefer shooting one-handed. When I did those mag dumps into the deer, I was one-handing it the whole time. So that does create a little bit of maybe a little bit of a problem, or somebody might see that and go, "Oh, he's holding it wrong," or whatever. It's like, hey, it's just I guess the way I hold it, or just the way I shoot it. But overall, there's nothing adjustable on it, so it's really a matter of just getting used to it and throwing some Kentucky windage into it.
Yeah. That's what yeah. So, why you thinking of getting the black powder kingpin?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the idea of them to have one and take it out once a year or something like that. But I'm just more interested in the production of it. Like how it works and all that kind of stuff.
So they're easy to get. Parts are available. You may have to order the parts online. Cabela's would probably be your most common big box store that would even keep any spare parts. But you can get them online. The two Italian brands that make them, Pieta and Uberti, the parts are not interchangeable. So be wary of that if you're ordering spare parts. You have to clean them after each use, and you clean them with hot soapy water. You can wipe them down with gun oil afterwards so they don't get any rust or whatnot. But you have to clean black powder with hot soapy water. There are some commercial cleaners that you can use in place of that, but I just typically just use Dawn dish soap and hot water. Another thing is storing them. You can store a loaded cylinder for I don't know how long, but typically you're going to store them empty. So if you think this is going to be your home defense gun, I really wouldn't recommend it. They make a lot of smoke. So you can't shoot it at an indoor range. They're not going to let you do that. And if you're at a range like mine where it's enclosed, and they do that to keep the noise down so that that the rich people on the other side of the lake will complain and get the range shut down if they don't. I'm actually shooting in a giant suppressor. Each shooting station is baffled like a suppressor. They actually had an engineer come out there and design it, and they tested all of it, and it keeps the noise down so we can have this range 10 minutes away from everybody. So in that confined space, there is some openness, but even then, it's still kind of like anybody who's sitting next to me will usually pack up their stuff and move down because they just don't want to be around me loading this thing. They don't understand it, and they're afraid it's going to blow up and all the smoke it makes. But if you can tolerate some of that stuff, yeah, it is kind of fun. But I've heard people before in the past talk about wanting to get one so they can bypass these laws, and it's like, yeah, it's not really about that, man.
Well, my friend got one. He got the 45 Colt black powder, and then what he did was he bought the automatic cylinder, the 45 Colt, whatever, not black powder. I can't think of the term right now, and that's all legal. So he has a modern revolver without a background check, and it was all legal. But I would probably go that route. I'd go with a newer gun. Like I'm sure I can't afford, some of the stuff that you got and the collectible stuff.
No, my stuff is all reproduction. It's not. I don't have an original.
Okay.
No. I mean, I've seen them. I've seen them at the gun shows up here in Michigan, and I've seen them in museums. No. Don't think that anything I have out there is the oldest gun I have is from 1887, but I haven't shot that in the video yet. But no, those are reproductions. The one you're talking about is offered by Ruger, and it comes with a cylinder for muzzle loading, but you can swap it out. You still want to shoot cowboy loads in there. You don't want to shoot modern smokeless powder in there. You want to shoot a black powder cartridge. So you're still going to have to clean it a lot, but that is an option.
Well, like I said, it'd probably be, once I do finally get one, it'll be like a once a year thing. And I'm one of the guys at the range that can't stand the black powder guys because I'm aiming at the target and now I've got a giant cloud of smoke in front of my face for 5 minutes. So, but I've got a little secret place that I can go back in the woods and fire that off. So it'd probably just be like a once a year thing just to do, kind of like there's absolutely zero purpose for it except for because I want it.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, and you are right about I don't try to go down there to annoy other people. I've actually tried to go down there on days where it's really, really cold and nobody wants to come out there. so I can pretty much have the place to myself, because that the smoke and all that is it's really kind of annoying. That the footage from the shooting the old washer is at Dusty's farm in southern Michigan. Dusty one is a Gun Channel's member, and he's a panelist on Lock and Load when we were doing Lock and Load on the Hawaii Volcano Squad show. So once or twice a year, I like to come down to his place. He's got his own private range on his farm, and that's where we got to blow up some tannerite and do some other stuff. And I would like to have some property of my own so I can make all those clouds of smoke and not pester other shooters, because being rude at the range is just it's not cool.
And no, they weren't there being rude. They're, every time it's happened, they've been pretty good dudes. But it just sucks because we got 30-minute shooting time on the rifle range, and when one of those guns go off, you got a good 2 or 3 minutes of smoke in your face. But no, the guys aren't jerks or nothing like that. It's not like they're there to be jerks.
Oh, sorry. I was reading the chat. They're talking about stuffing for turkeys.
I was about to say it is about time for the food chat to start.
Yeah. And Midnight Range is not even in here. So yeah. I mean, where I was going with that, now you're saying about cleaning it with soap and water. I mean, would Ballistol work instead of that?
No, you would wipe it down with Ballistol after you're done. Oil will not remove the corrosive stuff that's in the black powder. It's just like if you shoot old ammunition, especially old military ammunition, that it says corrosive on there. You'd better clean that gun right away. Now, with that, cleaning a modern gun with oil and whatnot, I guess it's something different in mercury something or other. But typically with me, old military ammunition that's corrosive, I collect. I don't really like to shoot because I don't want it corroding up the inside of my gun. But with black powder, there are some, like Slip 2000 sells a cleaner, and Thompson Center sells a cleaner, and I think they're water-based cleaners. But really, dish soap and hot water, and then you just dry everything out, and you're going to be going through a couple rags and a whole bunch of Q-tips and some pipe cleaners. Pipe cleaners run through the nipples, and then wipe it down with some oil. You might want to put a little bit of grease on a few moving parts if you want to take the grips off. If you want to unscrew the grips and clean inside of there, you can, but you don't have to. If you're not submersing it in water really so much as just rinsing it off with hot water. You can use hot water out of the tap, or you could just boil some hot water and just bring it down or wait for it to cool a little bit. You don't want to scald yourself, but it's something about the hot soap and water cleans it off.
So why can't I just stick my AR-15 in the sink and wash it like that, or my SIG P226 or something like that? Why can't I do a modern gun?
Technically, you can, but with that, it's a lot bigger. There's a lot more moving parts. I'm not gonna. Okay, so my only experience cleaning a modern gun like that is right before we graduated boot camp, we took our M16s in the shower with us and washed them in the shower because water got more dirt out of all the nooks and crannies inside of there than all the CLP in the world. However, they told us you are not allowed to do this. If the armorers found out, we'd all get in trouble and also. And then afterward, we oiled the living hell out of these guns. But they had to be perfect in order to pass inspection, in order to turn them back into the armory, or else. And that's the only time when once I got out in the fleet, we never did any crap like that. You did everything you could to keep your gun from getting wet because just all the parts that can corrode. So I just don't recommend it for corrosion reasons. But with the black powder revolver, the black powder itself, there's something in it chemically. I'm not a chemical engineer, so I don't understand it all. That is corrosive. That soap and water clean out better than your smokeless powder is not corrosive. If you see corrosive on modern ammunition, smokeless ammunition, it's not the powder, it's the primer in the back of the cartridge that has something corrosive in it. Not necessarily I shouldn't say that. There is some really old corrosive smokeless powder too. I mean, this is just, it's not something you're going to go, Winchester White Box is not going to be corrosive. So if you wanted to clean it with water, yes, but you're going to wipe it down, and you're going to be pulling water out of every nook and cranny. Otherwise, you're going to risk corroding the gun. So I think in one of my videos, I might have shown washing it. If not, I'll do a video where I wash one in the sink and you can see. But it's kind of messy. You just need a lot of rags. I guess this is part of the whole the downside of the owning a Lamat video that I did. I was trying to show all the things that go wrong with the damn gun. As much as people go, oh, I saw it in Westworld, it's so cool. I saw it in Quick and the Dead, it's so cool. The thing is kind of a pain in the butt, and for them to want almost $1,500 for it is kind of ridiculous for what a pain it is. So, you know, before you go spend your money, I was trying to show some of the negative sides to it. But what I really should have done is I should have shown what was wrong with it, and then I should have done videos on how I fixed it, instead of just showing just one side of it. That's why I want to go back and do it. So all this stuff I'm saying, I'm not really trying to encourage somebody to or discourage somebody from getting into it. I think they're fun and cool, and if you're really into history, I think you'll like it. But just understand that there's more maintenance to it, and it's a lot slower to load. I will tell you this: at first, it's going to take you a while. Then after you do it enough, you get a little bit faster, just like anything else. But it's not something you're just going to go out there on day one and just start blazing away. And then there's, you know, like up here, there aren't as many places where I can buy powder and other, you know, lead balls and stuff like that. I order a lot of stuff off the internet. There are other places where that stuff is readily available. You may live near a gun store that caters to this stuff. So just, I guess it's buyer beware. That's probably the short way to say all this stuff I've been rattling on about.
Yeah. Some good info there. It really is. You know? But as I said, like with my modern guns, I mean, like my 380 I shot yesterday, I was sitting here chatting with a couple of guys on Discord, and what you call it? I was sitting there cleaning. I clean my gun with the ballistol. I use it for everything, and all I do is I put a drop of gun butter oil on the little bits of the slide. That's the only oil that I do. The rest of it's all done with ballistol. You know, so seems to work for me. So that wouldn't work for an old-fashioned black powder. So, all right, good to know.
Black powder, smokeless powder, two entirely different things.
Yeah. Jason Stewart says, I use Windex, soap and water, Butch spore cleaner after shooting corrosive.
Yep, Butch's spore cleaner will work, and the Windex. Okay, so here's the deal with the Windex. Let's say you're somewhere, let's say you're hunting, and you've got a long gun that's black powder, and you're not going to be able to get back to a place where you can use hot soapy water to clean it, and you shoot it. If you've got some Windex and some patches and a rod, you can run some Windex on some patches down that barrel, and it'll take off some of the material, and that'll get you by. It'll buy you some time. It'll kind of neutralize it a little bit. It's not the perfect way to clean it, but it'll buy you some time. Like, you don't want to go to the range and shoot this thing and come home and toss it in the safe and then, I'll clean it tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, you're going to have little speckles all over it, and you're going to start getting pitting. But Windex, if you ran some Windex through it, then you could, you know, clean it in a couple days or something like. It'll buy you some time.
So it would corrode that fast?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Real quick. I mean, for anybody, for the food chat side, that we're talking about turkeys. Now, for all you people out there, you might say, why? Normally, when somebody puts a turkey, they put it in the pan, right? Put it in the oven, breast side up. They stick it on the back of the bird. The best way of cooking a turkey is actually flipping it over onto its breasts. So breast side down. That way all the juices from the bird flow into the breast to keep it moist. You know, the last half hour or so, flip the bird back over to brown off the breast. Works every time. That's the best way of cooking it, in my opinion, and a couple other people in the chat here too. So
would you say Would you say fat cap up or fat cap down on like a piece of beef?
Fat cap up. Because you want the fat on top for it for when it
To
cooks.
pour down into the
You know?
pour. Yep.
Yeah. Now, same as like I say, I mean, turkey's the same way as like a prime rib. When you put your turkey in the pan, try to stick it on some sort of like bacon rack inside the pan to get it off the bottom of the pan. You know, only a little bit to get it off the bottom of the pan when it's cooking. For when the juices flow through it, the juices actually flow out into the pan. That's what will keep it that way. When you flip it back over to brown it off, it's not going to be all oily when you cut into it. It's going to just be moist. You know. Hey, Rupan, how you doing?
Hey, Rick. I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
All right. A bit late, but we're here still. You know.
Yeah, I saw you were still alive, and I got the kids in bed. So.
Oh, okay. We're talking about black powder guns. Best way of cleaning them.
I have one, and I have not shot it yet.
Okay. Well, soap and water, hot water, and soap, like Dawn or something like that, is the best way of cleaning them. So we found out.
Yeah,
No.
kind of like corrosive primer. You're cleaning the gun that has, or you're shooting ammo that has corrosive primers.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. That's what Squib was saying, because he does quite a lot of that black powder shooting, from what I can figure out. He does more than I do, because I don't even own one yet. It's on my list. You know, my next big purchase I want is to get a lever action rifle of some sort.
I thought you had a lever action 22.
I do, but I haven't actually got it in my hand. When I say a lever action rifle, I'm talking something like a 30-30, or maybe I might even go to a pistol caliber, like a 44 Magnum or something like that. I don't know. To me, a 22 is not. Yeah, it's lever action. It's a rifle, but I don't call 22s. You know, they're toys. They're just, to me, they're just. I know you can die by being shot by a 22, but to me, a 22 is a step up from a BB gun. You know. Oh, but I mean, what in the hell do I know? I ain't been shooting that long anyway, so. Yeah, I have that. Actually, I have it and I don't have it. I have it, but I haven't finished paying for it yet. So my cousin won't give it to me till I finish paying him. So it's sitting in his safe. So, I told him the other day, I said, "You just trusting bastard." You know? He just laughed. So, anyway, that's about it. We're almost out of time here. Has anybody got any last minute things they want to talk about? I don't all yell at once now. No? All right.
Nope.
Oh, I know what I forgot. I've only got one entry for my quiz on Saturday. Oh, and I got to see. I haven't seen unknown user. I got to let him know that I got to email and let him know he won last week's prize. So the question was, it's real easy, I think. You just got to do some research. But smart people should know the answer. Not saying I'm not saying you guys are dumb, but if you're like me, I didn't even know this thing existed. And I looked it up because I saw it on a TV show. What I want to know is, corner shot is a weapon accessory. I want to know what it is and who invented it. So that's the question. I want to know what a corner shot, and it's a weapon accessory, and I want to know who invented it. Email me at rickslifeasiseeit at gmail.com or spottedrick at gmail.com.
Are you translating that, Rick? Because if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, it's got a foreign name.
I'm just reading what I looked it up, and this is what it was called. You know? So it might be a foreign name, but anyway, after the show, I will tell you what I read as it to be. So I would imagine Ruplan knows what it is. He's big into that kind of thing. You know? All right, that's the question. Email me by lunchtime this coming Saturday. That way you'll be in the quiz. You know? Oh, another thing about turkeys, when you're roasting them, roast them. I being a meat guy, I've always been low and slow on temperatures. I'm not one of these things, crank it up hot for a little while, then turn it down and let it go. To me, there's more chance of ruining a piece of meat than not, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I never, because what I'm saying is if you overcook something, you can't take the wellness out. If it's undercooked, you can put it back in and cook it some more. That's my theory behind it. But so on a turkey, you want to go nice and slow, low and slow. I remember years ago, when I was a kid, my mother would put the turkey in sort of like the night before, for a cook overnight while she's sleeping. So there we go. All right. Any plugs or close in there, Squib? Plugs, shout outs, or anything?
No, I think I've done enough talking for the night.
Yeah, you've done more talking this week than you've done in a long time. I appreciate it. You got some good info there today. Not that you don't have good info all the time. I'm really putting my foot in my mouth tonight, but I appreciate it. Kingpin, any shout outs or plugs? Kingpin's on the phone or he walked away.
I couldn't get the mute to come off. I'm on my phone, but I kept touching the button and it wouldn't come away.
Oh, okay.
No, man, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know who's on right now, but I know Never Enough Ammo's on at 9, and I believe Rants and Raves comes on after that. And I think there's somebody else too, but I can't remember off the top of my head. All right. I know you came in late, Rupam. You got anything to say real quick before we shut her down?
Thanks for running a longer show than usual. I was able to jump in and say hi. I appreciate
That's
it.
not a problem. I appreciate you getting here. That's a standard invite. If you can make it, you can. If you can't, you can't, So,
yeah, I appreciate it.
All right.
Don't forget to be on the lookout for the Daily Gun Show. The Daily Gun Show has been on a couple times this week, so be on the lookout for that.
Oh, yeah. You're right. So, Gun G-Web said, what was the cut of the meat? I was talking about pork. A sirloin steak, sort of like pork chop. What I was talking about on Saturday. And I was talking about you don't have to overcook them anymore like you used to in the old days. Seven Wonder said my mom put the turkey in the night before. They were always a little dry. But this goes back that you put it backside down with the breast up. If you cook a turkey breast side down, that way all the juices flow into the breast. And if you raise it off the bottom of the pan to let the juices flow out, last 30 minutes, get that turkey, flip it back over, brown off the breast. That will be the moistest bird you ever had. So that's it. So I want to say thank you. I'll be back on Saturday at 3 p.m. with another episode of Rick's Life as I See It. And, of course, I'll be back here the following Wednesday with Shooting with Disabilities. If you guys got any questions or anything like that, just email me with them. And if I can bring them up on the Wednesday chat, I would appreciate it. And because I get tired of talking about all my issues with shooting and my pains and how I handle it. I'd like to hear some other questions out there or anything like that. Or anybody out there who has issues that I saw in the chat tonight. If you want to join on the panel and talk about how you handle your shooting and stuff like that, just email me. I'll send you a link to join the chat. So, all right, that's all I want to say. So I want to say good night to everybody. Everybody's interested. When the show's over, I'm going out and throwing a couple of burgers on the grill for my dinner tonight. So, all right. I want to say, let me end the stream here. So I want to say thank you all. Good night. Have a good one and see you on Saturday.